All right, we're back. We downgraded this week, and I brought Steve back on.
Yeah.
Too many people are wanting my daughter back, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I had to get her off there because I'm about to lose my job. So
would like to note it was like 8 times the views on YouTube with Brian last week than it was with me. So I was actually changing shirts to put on an OU shirt before I got on this pod, and I thought, I could do this shirtless, but then instead of this going, like times 8, it would have been divided by 8 times
how
0.
is that? Yeah. How is there negative viewers? How is that popping up?
Yeah.
Do people
So
purposely
YouTube just
put on
sends
their
us instead of the money we're hoping to get because of subscribers on YouTube. YouTube would just send us a bill for indecent exposure, and that would end the Soonercast before we
$40.
Before we ever.
I can tell you charge Goss $40. He's like, we're not doing the pod anymore. It's not worth it.
We're done. Absolutely.
We're too far out. So we decided that, hey, this is a good time to do it, seeing that the national championship game's on, and for the first time in 5 years, the Oklahoma Sooners are not in it. I am still in shock, not so much that they lost, but how they just kept coming back. When Abby Dayton hit that 2-run homer, I was in WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw at the BOK Center, but my mouth was like this because I might have had my phone on watching. And that's another thing I'll put. WWE will not let you film or take pictures. Like, what in the hell's the reason of going to
this? They don't realize
this
Instagram society we're in now, that if you don't get a picture of it, it didn't happen?
I love the guy that was 2 rows in front of me, though, that was literally just filming the whole thing. I was like, okay, they said you couldn't.
You realize this is on TV too, pal.
Yeah, he was like on that Seinfeld when they're like bootlegging those movies.
Exactly.
So, exactly. But yeah, just the fight of the OU ladies. I thought if they made the College World Series, that was a victory. It's just 14 newcomers, a freshman-laden team. Sam Landry was good and steady all year. To me, it was never, she had that didn't have that dominant stuff that, some of these pass pitchers have, and it's not her fault. It's just they have been
the
lucky.
defense behind her wasn't as good either.
No.
I mean, that game Cassie Pickering's a good player, but she had a rough World Series.
I'm glad you said that because
she screwed up 2 plays in the outfield that cost us runs. And and she didn't hit
Cassidy. Was it Cassidy Pickering or was it Abby Dayton? Because I heard people say, okay, that's what I thought. But then I had somebody.
If I'm wrong, guys, feel free to comment below. But
just berate us. Just tell us how wrong we are. I feel like it's about
never stops my wife.
I feel like I know if I'm very seldom ever wrong when it comes to OU softball, but seeing I had Tennessee winning it all. But that said, you don't have Jada Coleman out there. You don't have. Garcia is a true freshman. Oh, is she a true? She's a true freshman redshirt. I don't know.
Right. She's a true freshman. McEnroe Marinas is the redshirt.
It's a redshirt. Okay, that's where I can get them flip flop. But those two have the left side of the infield taken care of for the next 3 years. So be really interested to see what they go after in the portal. I noticed
it was big. Thought it was big info today, and we can kind of get into this a little bit. But Maya Bland and Carrie Hicks both get in the portal, but I thought it was big that Tia Malloy came out and did the year 1 check thing on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Seems like he's going to be back. I think that's somebody who can be a plus outfielder out there. I think she's got a chance to be a dude. This just wasn't, and as our loyal listeners know, I did pick them to win it, and I don't feel bad for picking them to win it. But the biggest things that happened here is we probably, in retrospect, might have been better to drop a game to Texas when we played them earlier. Maybe that would have been better because it just probably wasn't a team we were going to beat again. Texas was in the final last year, brings pretty much everybody back. That's a good team, and you're not and. Not begrudging, return of investment here. It's not real smart to pay a softball player $1 million. The sport just doesn't make that much money. But Texas Tech made that decision. And when they bought Nigel Kennedy, they bought a championship contender. And OU, I'm sure if the money would have been even remotely close, I think she's wearing crimson and cream instead of red and black. But at the same time, that's the most money she's ever going to make in her life in all likelihood.
Yeah.
And
you're not, and that's, you're not
you
going
can't begrudge
to
a girl for that.
No, and that's what we talked about the last pod when Bri was on. I said, if it comes down to it, and that's my kid, and Brian says, hey, they just offered me $1.5 million, I'd be like, we are going to be Red Raiders, and we're going to go to the beautiful town of Lubbock, which I can tell you is probably hotter than balls there. But that said, it is. Here's a decision I think that was made. It sounds like Texas Tech said we're either going to get Sam Landry or we're going to get Nyjah Kennedy. We're going to throw money at Nyjah, try to get her. If we don't, we have Sam Landry as a backup plan. And you know what OU's backup plan was? Sam Landry. So it's like one of those we're going to go to, either place. So it's nothing Sam Landry did. I think she just didn't. They were relying too much on the home run ball.
And guys, she gave up. She didn't give up that many earned runs. She pitched really well. We just didn't swing the bats the way we normally have. And it goes back once again. I'm not trying to just make this all about Cassidy Pickering, but she did get on before the big Ella Parker home run in the Tennessee game, but it was kind of a bleeder up the middle. She just didn't have the Pickering we saw in the regional and the super regional was not the Pickering that we saw in the World Series. And if you're going to win, your absolute best players have to do that. And then, we didn't really have a 3-hole hitter. We moved different people around, that sort of thing. Ella Parker's Ella Parker. She's going to come back and even better next year. She did this on a bad wheel pretty much all year. So future is, incredibly bright. I think we've all saw the things. We got the number one player in the country coming in Kai Miner. We got the number one pitcher in the country coming in Alyssa Parker, who's from Pensacola. Quick Alyssa Parker story. We hosted a track meet at Keys this year, and watching that kid go down, and I think she won the shot and disc, and then she came back and ran the anchor on a sprint relay team. Not a lot of people who are doing that. And I think she medaled in the 200 as well. But that, my friends, is what a true athlete looks like. Lexi McDaniels, number 3 rated girl. We got her coming in. Kendall Wells is a catcher coming in. I do think that's a position we need to upgrade, even though Emberling did have a home run in the World Series. I don't really think – you look at that last play, the play that Tech scored on, which number one should have been an out to begin with, should have caught the ball, and nobody's even on base. But when we do, we catch it, and we're throwing it in from right. Emberling's behind the plate. You've got to go up and get that and try to swipe back. It's not like she doesn't know that and Patty doesn't know that. I'm not telling anybody what they don't know. But anyway, just kind of any more thoughts you want to throw out just about softball, Jeremy?
Yeah, I just, going back to Emberling, it's hard to follow a legend. Nobody's going to be Kenzie Hansen. Kenzie Hansen was clutch her whole career. Hard to follow Jada Coleman. Hard to follow Tiara Jennings. And that's why I said they made it to the Final Four with 14 newcomers. To make it to where they did, it's pretty amazing.
And Jeremy, we're not losing that much.
Sid Sanders
and Sam Landry. And I guess Isabella Smith, the girl from Campbell, was a senior too, but she didn't really have the impact we hoped she might. But kind of interesting things in the portal out there too. I do think. What do you think, Jeremy? I do think we need to go get a pitcher in the portal, even though we've got these young studs coming in. I've heard a little bit of
UCLA's pitcher just entered.
Yep, I saw that. Caitlin Terry.
Caitlin Terry's good stuff. Moves the ball well. Hits a little bit. I don't think she would hit at OU. And you notice a lot of these pitchers want to hit. And I just don't think Patty's ever going to be somebody that does that. And I'm going to go on a little tangent here about softball, because one thing that, I've noticed is everybody's excited for, OU losing, which I was telling Steve before we got on here. I understand if it was me, not an OU fan, and let's say like Florida won all these national championships and they got beat, my butt would be on Twitter too, probably saying, "Oh, finally they're beat, haha," laughing it up. But I think it's funny that some of us OU fans are just like, like baited into this. Like, I don't even respond to it. I think it's hilarious because I'm like, everybody is like having parties over us losing. I mean, do you understand how big of a deal that is?
Yeah, well,
like
it's
throwing
the old Reggie
OU
Jackson.
getting,
The old Reggie Jackson quote is, they don't boo nobodies, and that's if it's a big deal. Every game we've lost in the last 5 years, teams celebrate like they've won the World Series. And
what did SGA say? He goes, "They call me a free throw merchant." I guess if I wasn't any good, nobody talk about me. So
yeah,
that's the point. If everybody talks about OU because they are where everybody wants to be, and to say Texas Tech killed our dynasty, you know that like they could probably reel off 3 more straight national championships with the recruiting class they got coming in. There's not a whole lot of holes. And that's one thing I'm going to say is we talk about that recruiting class, not to mention Steph Bordy is sitting there at OU who went home. They sent her home.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think she is. She's taking some pictures with the new recruiting class. And I think they're kind of – I've tried to assure people that I feel like she is going to be there. I don't think it's anything to worry about. It's a kid who's a high school senior that got homesick. And
I mean,
she came there early.
Don't get me wrong. This is take nothing against Sam Landry. I really like Sam Landry. Thought she was really good for us all year. But to look where Sam Landry went from here to here in 1 year under Jen Rocha, these pitchers we're bringing in are probably going to be more talented. They're going to have a higher ceiling than what Sam did. And so that's exciting too. Going back to people rooting against it, I had basketball practice the night that we got beat out on Monday night. And I'm sitting there talking to my different kids, and my parents are over there while I'm practicing. I'm like, "Hey, what's the score?" Game had just started. We're about to end practice. And our friend Nathan's daughter was like, and Tech had just scored 2. And she's like, "Well, good. I'm tired of them winning anyway." And I was like, "What?" And so that definitely made the group chat that one of our good friends, Nathan, that his daughter was rooting against him. I had another girl too, and she's like, "Well, yeah, we're tired of Oklahoma winning." Well, to quote the great philosopher Donald J. Trump, I don't get tired of winning. I can win as long as I possibly can. So.
Somebody told Brian, I go,
you won't hear me say, "Man, you know what I'm sick of? Winning." Never.
Yeah. I hate winning national championships. Let somebody else win. It's getting boring. Because I'll tell you one thing: if Thunder win the NBA championship next year, they're going to be favored, and I want another one.
I'm all for it. If Thunder win the next 8, that's great. I will not get sick of it.
It's so funny because if Tatum's grandpa could hear her say that, he would probably
Don would. Yes. No. Yes. No. All right. Yeah. No. If Don could hear
I thought about that when you said that. Don, our friend Nathan's dad, who passed away a couple of years ago, he was the biggest OU fan I've ever seen in my life.
Yes. And he was the original person I knew who paid like for OU Insider and stuff. Don was the first person that I knew.
And you could ask him about
the old Robert Allen stuff and all that. Don was the OG.
And you could ask him about any player in any sport, and he could give you a breakdown of them. It's just unbelievable. So, R.I.P. Don, we miss you, and but yeah.
And I'll run your granddaughter extra hard next practice just for that comment, just for you.
She'd probably be laughing at you. Tatum is a hell of an athlete, so she'd probably just be like, "That's all you got."
Got a question for you, Jeremy. We're talking about. I was looking at some softball portal stuff before we got on to see who was in there and making sure I got Caitlin Terry's name right. Mia Williams, who's the second baseman for Florida, good player, entered. She has a famous father. Do you know who her father is?
Mia Williams. Mm-hmm. Superman, Roy Williams.
White chocolate. White chocolate.
Oh, sexual chocolate.
Yeah. So
sexual chocolate, everybody.
Randall Watson. But
boy can sing.
Well, good and terrible. But anyway, as our ratings continue to drop, I guess we probably need to move on here. But I always try to give Jeremy a little.
I don't know.
A little bit
like,
of
wait a minute.
90s
We can
trivia.
let's quote Coming to America just a little bit more and just
Yes,
keep us
exactly.
rolling here. But that's what's going to happen here probably the next couple of weeks. We don't have anything to talk about. I'm just going to just be doing movie quotes the whole time.
Yes.
Nobody wants that, I can promise you.
You know, obviously softball, I think Jeremy and I both agree, and I think most rational people would. This was a successful season. It was. Would I have signed up for it before the season started? Heck no, because I'm greedy. But at the same time, when I look back at this in a month, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that really was a successful season. Baseball ended up 38-22, 14-16 in the SEC. You know, played in the. You know, I thought it was really big for them to come back and. You know, they hammered Nebraska, and then they forced the if game against North Carolina, and then you know they got hammered in that. I thought if we were going to win, Kyson Witherspoon was just going to have to be a dude, and he just wasn't. Now some of it was there was a big error in that game. So, but you know, you give up 10 hits, 9 runs. Now I realize only 3 of them were earned, but that's not what Kyson Witherspoon had been doing. So I thought that was a little disappointing. But all in all. To me, I think Jeremy and I talked about this as soon as we kind of started talking about stickball. This was a team that I was hoping could make a super regional, but main thing is we made a regional, made it to a regional final, finished middle of the pack in the SEC. I think we just showed we belonged. You know, any baseball thoughts you want to throw out there, Jeremy?
Baseball and softball are a crazy, crazy sport. You can be playing. Have a good season, kind of crap the bed a little bit down the you know, in the conference tournaments, stuff like that. And then you get the regionals, you're not playing your best baseball. You get your butt beat. Look at Texas.
Vanderbilt.
Texas was, Vanderbilt. These teams were like on the top of the rankings all season. And what happens? They crap the bed and they lose. So I think OU's problem was getting swept by Kentucky just killed them. I think
it took some wind out of their sails.
Yeah, it took wind out of their sail. Then they dropped 2 out of 3 to Texas at home. I felt like if they could have taken 2 out of 3 from Kentucky,
then we're probably not at North Carolina.
You know, you did not want North Carolina's playing probably some of the best baseball. I think they're a national title contender, to be honest with you.
No, but you would have liked to have been like in one of those other regionals. You know, even though I think we were technically a 2 in that we were, you know, in a tough regional. And like Jeremy said, you know, momentum in baseball is tomorrow's starting pitcher. And we just didn't do a great job of finishing the year out right. But all in all, man.
And then you feel like all year they were trying to find that number 2. And it's funny, the Witherspoon's brother, what's it?
Yeah, Malachi, I think, right?
Malachi. He has a good outing in the regionals.
Dude, I watched that game. His stuff is amazing. It's like how, you know, how good or how hard is college baseball when you have the stuff he has and you got an ERA north of 5, you know, it's just one of those things of, you know, it's
metal bats. I think they need to get rid of metal bats in college baseball.
Would bother me.
I just don't think there's a need.
I was listening to the unofficial 40 today, and you know, Carrie and Eddie are both, you know, pretty big baseball people, and they were talking quite a bit about it. And you know, they kind of talked about, could we maybe get Malachi Witherspoon? Obviously, Kyson's going to be gone, but could you get Malachi to come back and maybe he has a year like what Kyson does this last year, and maybe he could be another first, second round pick. And so in Skip, I trust with that. This team, if you looked at the makeup, I was astonished. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I watch some OU baseball, but I'm not one of those guys that watches every weekend series or any of that kind of stuff. I read the box scores. I watch an inning or 3 a weekend and that sort of thing. But I've watched more of the full games of the regional tournament. The number of just JUCO transfer kids that we had, I mean, this was a roster that was kind of pieced together. And to put together this good of a roster, as we start getting some of this more money in, some of the revenue sharing, some of the things from the SEC, we continue to improve facilities. I just think that's just going to continue to be on the up and up. Let's hope we hold on to Skip. If you didn't listen to the Skip Johnson interview with Gabe and Teddy, Skip Johnson is just a dude we would all love to hang out with. He's just a good old boy. Just loved him. So if you're one of those, BMDs and big money donors, throw some money that way to the baseball team. I think it would be money well spent.
Yeah, and I hate the narrative like, oh, he does this with no resources and blah blah. And I agree. It is OU baseball doesn't have the resources that it probably needs to compete. But that said, it's not like we're the only program suffering baseball wise for resources.
No, I mean baseball is not a revenue sport, guys.
No, it's not. And
the reason these other schools in the SEC can spend more in baseball is because they're already getting SEC revenues. Which, once again, you've heard me say this a lot on this pod. We don't start getting those till after July 1st this year. So if we can survive this year, this is our lean time, then we've got greater things going forward for those non-revenue sports.
Yeah, and going forward, I like OU softball. How long did it take them to build what they built? And this is something I will tell you. Like I was arguing with, not necessarily arguing, but I was telling the guy that I work with about this. I said, OU doesn't need to spend, because he was talking about how much money Texas Tech spent. I said, OU will never be like that. They don't need to be. They don't need to spend all that money. Their wins and national championships what brings revenue. Do you think people are like, well, we're not going to the games unless they start spending that money? No, they're going to be like, as long as that woman is on third base coaching, we always have a chance to win it. Guys, we have an OU softball probably going to go down as the best solid college softball coach in the history of the game. When she is done and hangs them up, because I'll be honest with you, I think she's got 2 more national championships in her before she retires.
Yep.
I think she wants to set that apart. I was thinking like earlier this year, I just don't know if she's enjoying it as much. And then after this, she goes, "This is the most fun I've had coaching in a long time." So I think
you can almost see her chuckle, on some things, and
she's amazed.
Some of the comments, and I thought it was great when she came out after. She's like, "Look, we got beat. I'm too old. I don't give a crap anymore." But like it would be stupid to play these 2 games in the same day. Yeah. I mean, like that's awesome. She's a great ambassador. The only thing bad I've got to say is we don't really get to talk about how awesome Patty is on this pod again for a while. But just hats off to another great year. But I'm also that when people are like, I did have some people say, well, I enjoyed this year more as a fan than in the last 4 years. Bull crap, I didn't. I liked winning national championships. Those were more fun to me. That is. Don't get me wrong. I think this was in my coaching career, probably the best head coaching I ever did wasn't one of the years I made the state tournament. It was a year that I graduated everybody, came back and still found a way to have an above 500 season. That was the best coaching job. Now, I think this was a great coaching job that Patty did. And I think she enjoyed it because she got to do a lot of coaching. It wasn't just, like the pressure wasn't the same as far as, you should win because you have these cats. But I'm not going to lie and say, I mean, I enjoy winning national championships more. And hopefully when we're sitting here on, June 4th, 2026 talking about this, hopefully we're talking about, either we just finished up a champ series or getting ready for a champ series.
Yeah. And also, too, people that say that is full of crap because you're going to tell me you didn't enjoy watching Jada Coleman, Tiara Jennings, Alyssa Brito, Kinsey Hans, all these girls that just showed you what winning. And Patty even said it. She goes, there was nothing I had to do. I didn't have to say anything to them. Like, she goes, what am I going to tell this group of seniors that they don't already know? She's like, I didn't have to coach anything. So she got back to, like, having to coach and mold girls again. And you could just tell, like, she enjoyed it. But that said, next year I think we'll be probably preseason number 1. I could see us going into it. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
I got a question for you, and we'll move on from softball after this. This is something I've talked about before. If you were Nigeria Canada, would you enter the portal again after this year?
No, I don't.
Do you think I don't think anybody else is going to pay it, right? I mean, I think maybe you go back to Texas Tech and see if you can get 1.2. But I don't think anybody else is paying over $1 million. I heard somebody talk about that today, and just thought I'd throw that out on our pod. But
I think she would be more. You can say what you want. I think women, especially a name like that, she's a generational talent. I don't think she wants people talking to her like she's just team jumping, like she's a Kevin Durant. She's like, oh, I'll go to that. Like I've done this here. And
I think maybe her agent throws some feelers out there. Maybe that's it. But
or what? Maybe she goes back to Texas Tech and says, "Hey, like we can go somewhere else and get paid more." In Texas Tech's like here, because I can tell you,
bet she's a Red Raider again next year.
Yeah, might as well finish it out, especially when
speaking of potential Red Raiders, we want to talk a little bit of football recruiting. And I was over at Fort Gibson today and watching our boys basketball team is playing in a team camp over there, and we were playing Fort Gibson. So I got to see Cooper Hackett up close and personal. He is every bit of six. He is every bit of 6'7". Really, really, really big kid. As a lot of you guys know, super highly ranked tackle in the junior class this year. When I had a recruiting visit at Texas Tech, the rumor I'm hearing from his Texas Tech visit was Texas Tech offered him $3 million to go there with a $500,000 signing bonus. If he does that, that's a heck of a lot of money. Now, do I still think this guy ends up being a Sooner? Yes. But I just want people to know that, this is the kind of money that's being thrown out there right now. And hopefully, this is somebody, if you keep up with this kid on Twitter or you keep up with any of this stuff, you can see, and this is a kid, this is an OU legacy. Jeremy and I know his dad, that sort of thing. But did think that was interesting to see that kind of number out there for an offensive tackle. It's one thing for, I want to talk a little bit about Bo Bentley too. Bo Bentley did have in case anyone doesn't remember, OU's got the 2 quarterbacks they're recruiting. Bo Bentley is, to make this long story short, Bo Bentley is who Arbuckle wants. Jaden O'Neal is who had committed earlier under when Seth was the OC. This is for 2026. Bo Bentley went and visited LSU this last weekend, got out of there without that scumbag Brian Kelly filling his pockets with hundreds too much. And so the fact he made it through that weekend, he is visiting this weekend. I think it's the camp this weekend, along with, he's got a receiver, Dallas Dickerson, in a tight end, Tyler Ruxer, and Noah Best, an offensive lineman. Those are 3 guys I think that OU's got a good chance to sign all of those. If you are worried about recruiting, if you're one of those people, and if you're listening to this pod, you probably are one of those people that's worried about recruiting. We really need this Bo Bentley, Jaden O'Neal thing to end soon. Jaden O'Neal was visiting Arizona this last weekend. Don't be mad at Jaden O'Neal. Okay, he's kind of doing everything right through this. And I'm not saying be mad at Bo Bentley. We want to go get who we want. We want to trust Arbuckle on this decision. And I do think, if from my limited knowledge, I think I'd rather have Bo Bentley as Jaden O'Neal, but we really need this to happen. I think we'll have a decision out of Bo Bentley by the Champion Barbecue, which is June 20th to the 22nd. So for those of you keeping track of all that kind of stuff, Bo Bentley is visiting this weekend. Now, his reps are saying he's not going to commit this weekend, but it's my deal. In the month of June is now the big month in recruiting. We need to get these people to sign when they're here on their official visits. That's just what needs to happen.
Yeah. Haven't you felt like since Arbuckle's got there, they've kind of went cold on Jaden O'Neal?
100%.
It's like there's a reason he's making these visits. It's because he's like, crap, I got to find a backup plan, which Jaden O'Neal doesn't. He's going to have a lot of options for backup plans. Another thing, too, mentioning Texas Tech and how much money they're spending. Guys, if Texas Tech wins the national championship in softball, can you imagine what they're going to be thinking? Because they paid a lot of money for that softball team. They went all in on that. And so what are they going to think? They've got bottomless pockets right now.
But, here's the deal about that, though, Jeremy. It just hasn't worked in football yet. It hasn't. Because all we heard all last offseason was how awesome Ole Miss is going to be, how awesome Missouri is going to be, how awesome Tennessee was going to be. Did any of those teams make the national championship game? No. Only Tennessee even made the college football playoff. So, the college basketball teams, the 2 that spent the most money this last year were Indiana and K-State. Neither one of those teams made the NCAA tournament. Now, here's the deal. In softball, softball, it's a deal of, I think the two most important positions in sport are pitcher and fast pitch softball and quarterback in football. I think those are the two most important positions in any sport that dictate winning so much. And so Tech did. They spent on a pitcher, which is 80% of the softball team. And maybe there was a quarterback that was out there that Tech could throw enough money at. But right now, while it is scary, I am a little scared of the tortilla throwers there in West Texas. But let's just say I'm more worried about their orange neighbors to the south right now than I would be the Red Raiders.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, it's
that being said,
there's a lot of stuff.
I just know, talking OU recruiting, which I know some people, want us to do, and I wanted to spend some time. I did some research this week, so I wouldn't just sound like I was pulling stuff out of my, but right now we're not ranked in the top 25. Or on some of the things we're 23, 24 in this next recruiting class. But June has been the big recruiting month under Brent Venables for these classes. And so we have to hope we get through this on the other side. But as you know, from all the different classes that we've had, you've got to have that quarterback in place and solid before you can fill out the rest of it. And even though technically Jaden O'Neal is a commit,
sure,
he's not really either with his eyes, on other places. And it's not his fault. It's not. We're spending more resources on Bo Bentley than we are Jaden O'Neal. So we need this to happen. We either need Bo Bentley, which I hope, to commit. I hope they both commit. That'd be great for me. But we need Bo Bentley to, as my grandma would say, piss or get off the pot and figure out where we're going to go with this, so then we can kind of get our recruiting class in the right order. Because what's happening to our recruits is everyone's out there saying, well, this staff's getting fired at the end of the year anyway, so why would you want to go ahead and sign with Oklahoma?
Yeah, I agree. And I look at it and I think they're going to be well improved, but with the schedule, it just makes you wonder how improved they're going to be. So,
speaking of schedules,
well, man, let's end it on that.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good to me, Jeremy. I guess the only other thing. Go ahead.
I looked at it down the road. I don't know how much sports we're going to have to talk, so we'll keep an eye on the recruiting on all ends, portal talk with softball, stickball, and I don't know, we might have another story episode coming up too as well.
And I'm going to work on we've got a couple of guests in the queue that I think some of our listeners would enjoy as well. Kind of let them kind of get through some of their busy times with their real jobs. But these are like, legitimate OU people, not just a couple of guys like Jeremy and I are. Two things, Jeremy, before we take off. One, give me your Thunder Pacers prediction. Thunder and how many?
Man, the way they're clicking, I think Thunder in 5. I know a lot of people, I think it's a gentleman's sweep. The whole season has just been, I've been amazed at every issue they've had, or every time they've been against the wall, they've bounced back, and their defense is just, I've never seen a defense like that. So I think Thunder in 5.
No, I think that's a good pick. I was talking to our boys basketball coach today. He's like, okay, how do the Pacers win? And I really don't know, other than just 3-point variance. It's the Thunder can't hit anything and the Pacers don't miss. Maybe that's the kind of deal. I do respect Rick Carlisle. I think he's a good coach. That scares me just a little bit. But at the same time, I'm going Thunder in 4.
I think it's a huge.
I'm just saying, I just think that's where it's at. I definitely think Denver's better than Indiana. I think Minnesota's better than Indiana. That being said, maybe we're back on here next week and, we're in a bad position and we're sitting there down in the series, something like that. But,
if that happens, you'll see me like this with my hair all falling out. It's like, but I feel like the Braves.
I'm drinking from the Thunder cup. I'm drinking the Thunder Kool-Aid here. And I'm hoping.
Well, and also too, I think tomorrow night is the game that if Indiana can pull out game one, they have a shot.
Yeah.
But I feel like if let's say Thunder go out and beat them pretty handily, like by 15, 16. Indiana, you can't tell me they're not going to be thinking like, oh crap, because I think their defense is going to kind of overwhelm Indiana a little bit. So,
yeah.
But that said, guys, get on YouTube, subscribe to us. We got a lot of viewership because Brian killed it.
Don't make me look so bad, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, let's at least get to like 50 this week with me on there.
Yeah,
you know?
I brought the dead weight back on, so we're.
You know, it's
but
in this with some bad movie
YouTube,
quotes.
yeah.
It's like Major League. You know, in Major League, you know, you get a win, they peeled something off. You know, don't make me do anything crazy here, folks. Let's just get those numbers continue to go up. Our subscribers are close to 110. We continue to grow there. Thanks again for Brian for setting in for me last week. My daughter did say she was pretty jealous, and she said maybe in a couple of weeks, Dad, you and Jeremy can just get on there and introduce both of us, and then we'll just talk for time. And I was like, well, that would probably do much better than Jeremy and I anyway. So you know,
I know
how
people will be like,
is
there any way that
your
kids can talk?
You know, yeah.
I thought it was funny. I had the Sooner Girl Sports Pod lady on, and on Twitter, she goes, that was awesome, because I said I'm bringing on my favorite guest we've ever had, which she is because she's my kid. And she's like, oh, that was so awesome. You need to do it again. I'm like, I'll be honest with you, probably next year for softball. When I told her she was coming on, she just started studying. And what's funny, she studied stuff that she already knows.
Yeah.
She was just like, so do I just need to talk about her and her ERA and what I'm like, honey, don't do stats. Just go out there and just talk about OU softball like we do now. So good job. I loved it. I loved having her on. And we need to bring Allie on. Allie would be awesome to have on. Bring both her kids on. That would be a lot of fun, I think. So I just have to watch my mouth a little bit more. That's what my wife told me. She's like, just don't start cussing.
No,
apparently
I did. Major slap in the face from Lindsay. She was like, yeah, I've never listened to the pod before. And I was like, you know, yes. I at least make Erin listen to it occasionally driving across town. She's like, she hears a dun-dun-dun-dun. She's like, oh, Stephen, no. And I'm like, yes, Stephen, yes. Yes.
Well, it shows you how much pull I've got in my house. My wife doesn't even listen to my podcast. So, and I think I'm hilarious. She says that I'm not as funny as I think I am. I think that's
could it be that I'm not as good looking as I think I am?
We have a friend that whose mom's on our softball team. She said she last saw your jokes. You're not as funny as you think you are. That's what she always says. So I said, well, you've heard the same jokes for 20 years, honey.
That's it.
I'm sure they're getting old.
They said yes. It's their fault. So they had chances to get out. So
hey guys, everybody. Also too, if you're getting on Apple, Spotify, give us a follow as well. We're not forgetting
Soonercast@gmail.com. Once again, sponsorships available. Do think we're going to get some of those going by the time football season rolls around. Like Jeremy's talked about, our subscribers are kind of where I was hoping they would be when football started, but now that we're there, let's just up that too. Let's try to get to 150 before football starts. Have a great weekend. Go Thunder and Boomer.
Boomer Sooner.